Best value watches. This is what we're talking about today. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't necessarily mean the cheapest watches or the best affordable watches on the market right now, but I want to talk about watches that deliver far more than their price tag would suggest, when a watch itself exceeds its price tag. And I promise throughout this video, I'm going to do everything in my power to not say the phrase bang for buck. It's used too much. Okay, this might be a predictable place to start, but it's a cliche for a reason. When it comes to value versus price point, the G-Shock is undefeated. So my two favorite styles are the 5600 series, so the classic square, and the 2100 series, or as they've been affectionately nicknamed, the Cassie Oak. So G-Shock was founded by Casio in 1983 with the goal of creating the toughest watch. The first model released, the DW5000, looks hauntingly similar to what they still release to this day. The very best value, in my opinion, would be something like this, the GA 2100, so a very classic looking Cassie Oak, 200 meters of water resistance, solar powered, Bluetooth connectivity for £129 or $150 US-ish. How can you argue with this? So this one's a bit different for me. I don't think anyone would expect this, but the Brew metric. I had one of these in to review back in 2022, I think it was, and it was just such a genuinely joyful watch to have in. These retail for £359 or about $450 US. Stainless steel case, 50 meters of water resistance, unique functionality with the chronograph and telephone timer, or what they've made into an espresso timer, and it just feels so 1970s and fun and different. One thing to note is that this one has a quartz movement, but it's the hybrid VK68 Mecha Quartz chronograph. And I don't have time to gush about it right now, but you can think of this as the Cadillac of quartz. This is really the watch that inspired this entire video. I was shopping at the authorized dealer recently, went over to the Hamilton section, and I just couldn't believe how well priced these still are. Like, it just isn't fair how much watch you're getting for £545. I feel like it's time for me to just freaking buy one of these already. I've been admiring them for so long, I think it's time to just lock one in. So you're getting one of the most perfect case sizes at 38mm, 9.5mm thick, 50 meters of water resistance, and the H50 movement ETA 2801-2 base caliber. For me personally, this is one of the rare times I would buy on the NATO versus the bracelet. I just think the NATO is too perfect, so military, and everything is just right about this watch. Okay, so there's so many Seikos that could be on this list, namely the Seiko 5 GMT, but the Alpinist SPB 121 is probably my favorite Seiko watch, and I almost never talk about it, which just feels wrong. So the Alpinist was first launched in 2008, exclusively in Japan, and due to popular demand, it became available worldwide with some upgraded specifications. This is one of those watches that does it all. Extremely handsome, cathedral hands, sunburst dial, one of the best case sizes at 39.5mm, 200 meters of water resistance. Yeah, in my humble opinion, this is one of the best Seikos that money can buy. These retail for £690 or about $725 US. It's a Brit Pierce video, so I think we all knew that Nomos was going to be brought up at some point, and this is that point. This is another brand where it's like, almost all of their watches are unreasonably well priced for how much watch you're getting. An in-house movement, unique design language, but if I had to narrow it down to just one model, it's the Club. So I, personally, have the Club Campus 36 in deep pink, and my husband has the 38 in blue purple. And with how much you get for £1,300 or £1,400, it's too much. You're getting too much watch. So 100 meters of water resistance, the sizes and proportions, they're delightful on the wrist. And all of Nomos watches are powered by their in-house movements. So these have the manual wind alpha caliber, giving you 43 hours of power reserve. This is like the thinking man's go anywhere, do anything watch choice. Okay, I knew Christopher Ward would be on this list, but I wasn't sure what model to highlight. I mean, you've got the 12, probably my favorite watch in their catalog, the C63 Sealander, the C65 Sealander GMT. But I think the craziest watch that they have, where it's like, why is this, how is this priced the way that it is, has got to be the Bel Canto. I had one of these in to review last summer, and I can't tell you how freaking charmed over I was. These wear beautifully, they look spectacularly odd, and of course the big standout feature is the functionality. So this is a chiming watch, an hourly chime. Christopher Ward's technical director, Frank Stelzer, had an idea. What if they modified their jump hour movement to chime? And this is the result of that. Now, £3,195 is a pretty steep price, especially within the Christopher Ward catalog, but for this rare, cool functionality, it's really, really unreasonably well priced. Okay, another brand I found it difficult to whittle down to a single model because Tudor just oozes bang for buck. Ah, crap! No! I said it. So initially I was thinking of the fixed bezel Black Bays, one of the best go anywhere do anything watches, or the Black Bay 58 or the 54, or the Tudor Ranger. But when I think of stupidly good pricing and Tudor, it's the Pelagus. The OG Pelagus, as much as I love the 39 and the FXD. So this is a professional dive grade watch. 42mm titanium case with a satin finish, 500 meters of water resistance, an incredibly functional dive bracelet, possibly one of the best diver bracelets available, and powered by the manufacturer caliber MT5612 COSC certified movement, giving you 70 hours of power reserve. And once again, over $4,000, that isn't a cheap price, but for how much you're getting, So Glashutte Original has recently become my newest love affair, and a few weeks ago I had a CQ in to review. You should go watch that video if you haven't seen it yet. I'll pop it in a corner. But man, the deals you can get on these in the secondary market, they're really good. So these retail for £9,400, which is steep, but I think worth every penny, and it is properly priced. But if you go over to Chrono24, you can find these on average between £5,000 and £6,000, which is crazy. So if you're not as familiar with this watch, it has a case size of 39.5 millimeters, 200 meters of water resistance, and the Glashutte Original manufacturer caliber with 40 hours of power reserve. What really stands out for me is just how different it is. If you want a diver with some charm, beefy specifications, a high degree of finishing, that isn't a Rolex or Omega, this has got to be the one. I feel like Breitling is one of those brands that I sometimes forget about, and it isn't fair to Breitling. They have some absolutely class models that are very well priced. But for this section, I was really torn between two models. So the Premier B09 Chronograph 40, tell me this isn't gorgeous, and the Premier B15 Duograph 42. I think the former, the B09, is the more practical, easy to wear watch, but that's not what this video is about. This is about unreasonably good watches. So it has to be the B15 Duograph. This is a split-second chronograph, which in terms of watch complications, is at the tippy top of complications. This is usually only reserved for high horology brands like Patek Philippe. But Breitling offers this for £8,800. What? I honestly thought it wasn't possible to get a split-second chrono for under £30,000, let alone under 10. But it should be said this complication comes with a thick package. So already a large case size at 42 millimeters, and it's 15.3 millimeters thick. And I think that's really the only problem with this watch. But at the end of the day, you're getting a lot. Another Glashutte Original? Brittany, you wild girl. I know, but I can't not talk about the Panamatic Reserve. Now, there's no ignoring it. When you see this watch, you think Longa 1, probably. But I really have to stress that German watchmaking history is muddy, and I think anyone who writes this one off because of Lange needs to reevaluate and maybe even just handle this one versus the Lange one. Both Glashutte Original and A. Lange & Söhne were founded in 1845, and both brands began again in 1994. German watchmaking history in this tiny village has always been incredibly intertwined. So the Panamatic Reserve was first launched in 2015, but the Pano collection has existed since 2001, with the rules of this collection being every Pano has a time-only off-center dial with overlapping subdial for the seconds. The right side of the dial is used for complications. I could gush about this watch and defend it from the Lange fanboys all day long. But the price? £9,700 is a heck of a lot more achievable than Lange's, what, £30,000-ish? It has to be? And the Glashutte Original side-by-side date blows Lange out of the water. I'm sorry, but it needed to be said. Come at me, Lange boys. Okay, let's wind down here with a bit of Vacheron Constantin. And I find this one to be an insane deal. The Vacheron Constantin patrimony on the secondary market is honestly robbery. You can find these on Chrono24 between £11,000 and £13,000, and it just feels wrong. For a reference point, the Rolex left-hand drive GMT on Jubilee now retails for £10,000. So the fact that you can enter the holy trinity of watchmaking in precious metal for a comparable price, get out of town. Get out of here. Now, once again, I'm not saying it's a cheap price, but all things considered, it's bang for buck. Dang, I wasn't supposed to say bang for buck. Okay, there's so many watches that I missed on this list. I'm going to do some really quick rapid fire notable shout outs. I'm not going to deep dive into these, but I highly recommend that you go check them out. The Frédéric Constant manufacturer classic tourbillon, genuinely can't figure out this price. The Longines Spirit Zulu Time, I desperately wish I put this one on the list. About £3,000, I believe. Really cool watch. Next, the Patek Philippe 5127J Calatrava. This is another one that's expensive, but I just can't figure out the price of these. And last, a brand not a lot of people talk about, Lane. The Lane V38 Frosted. I actually can't understand the price. Actually, leave this video right now and go look at them. These really deserve a looking at 9,900 Swiss francs, highly finished micro rotor movements, lovely dials. The price doesn't make sense. Anyways, guys, how long have I been filming? I've been talking way too long. Let's end the video here. Did I miss anything big? Any big bang for buck? Stop saying bang for buck. Any big great watches for the money, watches that I missed, let me know in those comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And now we're going to thank the gorgeous, fabulous, wonderful Pope tier patrons.